Okay, so I'm thinking about this series. The series is going to be creating websites using the Schemaorg Blueprints module. And it's a new module, quick overview, new module by Jacob Rockowitz. And he has a wonderful introduction to the module already on YouTube. Highly recommend this as a 15-minute quick version. And if you want the in-depth version, there is a full demo as well. Highly recommend those before this video. But the pitch for this module is essentially this. There is this group called Schemadotorg. There's this collaborative to define these common properties for things. Many big companies use it. They need it. This is the way we are standardizing. People are standardizing data. Great. Now in Drupal, often we are creating things. Content types, an article, that's a thing. Basic page, that's a thing. You might have a person, a place, and for the sake of future demos, I'm going to do a events website. And all of these things have properties. So a lot of times when we are architecting in Drupal, we are defining the properties of common things. That's kind of what all this architecture structure stuff is about. So what if we could just say, Drupal, build me a person the way the schema dictates a person should be built, I suppose. What properties a person should have. And a person may have all of these properties and should have some of them. It's a lot, right? But once we standardize this data, we get standardized output that people care about. So the answer to that question, what if we could just ask Drupal to build that for us, is the Schema Blueprints module. Schema.org is the module name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my basic setup. I have a fresh Drupal install, and I've set myself up to contribute to this module in any way I can, this video being the first way. So a quick overview of my setup. I'm using Lando and Composer. And what I have required in my Composer is some pretty basic. I have the schema.org module checked out in my custom folder because I don't want it to be blown away. This is actually a git checkout of the repo itself, so I can pull down, get the latest. I can roll patches if or when that comes up. Here I am. See if there's been any updates. Yep, there's been some updates. Okay. So I've got this fresh install of Drupal. Now, the first thing I want to do is enabling this module because there is a lot going on. In Drupal, I have the admin toolbar module enabled and the modules filter module enabled just for some nice UX. All right, so now let's try to use the schema module to build Drupal Camp Asheville's website. Here we are. Boom. We're going to rebuild this. So the way the site is currently built is it's got a number of content types, one paragraph type, a couple taxonomies, and that's kind of like the core of the site. It doesn't have any e-commerce component, and it does not allow many users to sign up. Only editors of the site actually have accounts on the site. It's pretty straightforward. So looking at the content types, we have the default article, we've got the default basic page, we've got also an event, a job posting, a location, which aka a place, an organization, session. All right, yep. Another type of event, a social event, sponsorship. Okay. The only paragraph we have is a person, which will probably end up being a content type on the new system, so it's reusable. And we've got some basic taxonomies, company name, we just did with sort of tagging like previously, sponsorship level, which year a camp or content is related to, and the topics of the camp, such as business development, etc. So let's build this in the new site. All right, so first thing to do is install our modules. All of the modules. Skip translations because I'm not dealing with that at the moment. And we don't need demos. We're not going to use any deprecated stuff. And this is whatever. All right, let's install. All right, we are installed. Now let's take a look around. There's a couple places where this is going to show up. It's going to show up as an option for when creating a content type. It's also going to show up. See, there's add schema.org. So articles, and then when you manage fields, there's now sort of a sub that allows us to map the existing content type to schema created outside of the schema system. It lets us map it to the schema system. Then we have configuration, and under search and metadata, we have schema.org. And this is where we see our mapping and mapping sets type information, which by default may not be very many. I see. So it's giving us a warning that we don't have the media module installed. Let's do that. Back to extend, and we're going to add the media and media library modules. Okay, so that's installed. Let's go back to this mapping page and see if that gets rid of these error messages. Yeah, good. Okay, this lets us map really common sets of data types and pre-configure it, or go ahead and set up these types through here. So just as a quick example, say we were building a site that was mostly about medical information. If I were to follow through with setting up this generalized group of data types, then what it's going to do is create a paragraph called medical device to match the medical device schema. Lots of different paragraphs. We're going to have a node called health topic content, which matches the health topic content schema. One called drug, dietary supplement, more nodes. So a lot of nodes and paragraph types. And that's what a lot of these do. So for example, the required types, it requires us to go ahead and create these very basic types, which are going to be used throughout all types, all other types, because we will create relationships to content of these types. So let's go ahead and set these up. Click set up types, and then I'm going to click confirm. And it's just going to do it for us. It's going to create all the default mappings. It will create new content types. I expect to see a new content type called person that is built to map exactly to schema.org, actual schema, based on whatever the defaults were set up for. And we can look at where the defaults for this node person are. Okay, so I did not install the telephone field type. Okay, let's go back to extend. Let's go to fields. Nope, not there. Field types, address. Let's get all of these. Date range, time range, telephone. They all might be useful now that we can allow our data to become more complex due to the savings we're getting in the actual architectural department. I don't mind having time range, date range fields if something else is setting it up for a reason determined by a community, a collaborative community of smart people. So let's just see how that goes and install them. All right, it's installed. Good. Let's go back to our set mappings. Let's refresh this. So it did already make all these things. I'm sure that if I go to structure and content types, I'll see that person. Yep. But I wasn't really ready with the site when I made it. I wanted to enable those other fields, the address field and the telephone field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tear down these types, which, just delete these types. I haven't added any content to these types yet, so it shouldn't be a problem. All right, so tore all that down. Now let's have it recreate the required ones for us again, this time hopefully without any errors for missing field types. All right, so now we made all of these required types and we've got no error message. That's good. So all of this stuff should be set up for us. I expect we will see a paragraph type called contact point. Great. And we're going to have a node type called person. Let's go look at the person node type from a fields perspective. All right, got a lot of fields by default. It really coming at us hard with fields. So whether we need it or not, I can tell based on just sort of looking at our paragraph type for a person before from this other site that we are rebuilding. Let's just see what it's got. All right, I need an about field. That's my body. That's my node body. A company. This relate a relationship to an organization. Maybe we can make that happen later. Drupal.org username. Okay, that's unique. That's not going to show up in schema. Not easily. We'll figure that out. An image, a name, and then sort of Twitter. So like a another relationship to it. We got way more than that in here. We got first name, last name, middle name, address, affiliation. Looks like it gave us a plain text field for affiliations. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that field. Alumni, let's get rid of that field. All these like, yeah, get ditch. We don't need your birthday. We don't need your birthday. This is a Drupal camp website, contact point for an organization. You tell me that a person has a contact point. That's interesting. We'll leave that alone for now. Description is the body field. Okay, great. Yeah, let's keep an email, their last name, gender. I don't know that we really need that, so I'm going to get rid of that. Given name, that's their first name. Honorific prefix and suffix, good. Image, yes. Job title, sure. Knows a language. Don't think we need that at the moment. Name, so this could be like a, like a full name or whatever you call the person. Casual full name. Nationality, don't need a nationality. Let's get rid of that. Same as. I haven't decided how to handle these two fields. Drupal.org and Twitter, which are specific instances of same as. So let's just keep going. I'm gonna get rid of that for now. Telephone. Do we need people's telephone numbers? I don't think we do. And works for. That's another organization relationship. What do we do with our previous organization relationship? Okay, we must have gotten rid of it. Yeah, I guess workforce. Okay, but we're going to make an organization type of data. So I'm going to save this. We'll come back to that. I'd rather that be a reference than a list. So let's see what happens if we save this. We basically just told it we didn't want most of these fields that it made for us. So did it get rid of the fields? It did not. All right. So now I would need to go through and delete all of these fields. That's one way to do it. Instead, I feel like I'd rather just generate it with less stuff than go through sort of instead of undoing using like these. Where'd they go? I guess I left the page. Instead of using these like default map sets, even when it came to the required things, I do have opinions on some of these, and I don't want it to generate a person node, for example, because it's more work for me to delete content from that than it would be for me to just make my own person node. Okay, so, or delete fields from that. Paragraph contact point. Before we tear down again, let's go to paragraph contact point, see what these fields are. Pretty straightforward. A type, an email, and a telephone. I guess the reason we don't have a name here is because this isn't a person we're reaching out to, but well, in the case of a person content type, it is a person, but it could also be used on an organization or any number of things. And in the case of like an organization, you're not calling a person. So that's why we don't have a name. I don't have to justify all this. All right, so I'm going to tear this down. And then let's see if we can figure out a way to generate these, but customized. Okay, so all those types are torn down. Now if I go to content types, I should not see person. Great. All right. Now I do want it to go ahead and make these for me. I don't see why I wouldn't. Contact point was fine. Really, it's just node person I don't really want. So I'm gonna go here to configure. I'm gonna get node persons. I'm gonna remove node person from this map setting. I know it's required. So I will make it myself. It's actually involved in the common set as well over here. So there's plenty of, well, we will end up making a person. So I'm not concerned. Okay, that's good. And the rest of these they can make according to the other rules they have defined in the mapping type section. By they, I just mean, I don't know, whoever else is not me. Okay. So let's set up these types and that gets us good. I'm pretty happy with where this is going to end up. All right. And then what do we want to do? So we have created part of this person, and we've still just really set up sort of basic stuff. We haven't started defining our custom data yet. So we've got the common things. We don't have audio. We don't really have data downloads necessarily. I guess we could, but let's move on to sort of more big picture here. So let's get a place. All right. So I could install all the commons, and what's this going to add to us? Node person, I imagine it's going to come back as complicated as it was before, which I don't really want. So let's go ahead and add node person ourselves. And I have a feeling that a lot of these are going to end up more complicated than I want for now. But in a future, I would probably reconsider, just depending on the job I'm doing at the time. So I'm going to manually create a node person. So I'm going to go to content types and add schema org type. And here it's actually guiding me along. You can see that not only is it offering me sort of a starting point for each of these scenarios, but it's also describing an order that they likely belong in, likely should be created in. So it's recommending that I create a place first, an organization, then a person, etc. So let's back out of our idea to create the person and let's create the place. So looking at my content type on my old site called location, let's see what we need. We expect an address, some sort of description, geolocation, longitude and latitude, Google Places ID, that's something I added late, an image field and a URL. Pretty simple content type. So let's do that here. So we've got a place, we'll just leave it there. Enable subtyping. Sure. I don't know where that subtype's going to come from. I see. Okay, it's the, yep. It's the subtype. So we'll leave that alone. Address field, great. A description, the body field, great. An image, a media reference, great. A name, sure, got to have a name. Telephone number, love it. And we need a URL. Okay, so let's just add a new field. That will be a link. Easy peasy, save. All right, so now we have a place created and it's got basics. Now, if I go back here and refresh, I wonder if this is going to turn blue. Let's see. Did. Pretty smooth. Wonderful. Okay, so let's go back to our content types and let's see what's recommended that we create next. I'm going to add a schema org type. Yep, an organization. See, I've already got a place, so I don't need it. An organization, a person, and that'll get us pretty far. So an organization, let's start that here and let's look at the old website. We have a content types called organizer, sponsor, sponsorship. Okay, so we really don't have a generic type for organization. So let's think about it. Well, we've got a number of levels of organizations. Every sponsor is an organization of some sort. Theoretically, they could be a person, but more often it's a company. We as a team are an organization. Drupal Camp Asheville is like the event, and the organization is the Drupal users group, Drupal Asheville users group. So we're an organization. That's two places it could show up. What else might be an organization? So maybe there's even something like an initiative within Drupal. So maybe there is an initiative in Drupal and they sponsor something or present and they want their credit to be as that organization. So an organization can be a lot of different things and we don't have that represented on the old site. So we're going to be making this new on this site as a new concept, and we'll have to figure out how we use it from a data perspective going forward. So let's allow subtyping since it's very generic. I mean, we don't really need an airline or whatever. Maybe we do. You know what? We've got Nashville Airport. We link to it. We tell you how to get here. Maybe we do want an airline someday. But we'll leave all these subtypes the way they are. See what else is asked of us. An address, yes. Contact point, which we are using the paragraph contact point type for. Body is the description. A new email field. One day we'll just keep reusing that. An image, great. Member of. So I don't think we need this relationship. An organization to which this person so an organization to which this organization belongs. I don't think we really need that. So I'm gonna get rid of that. A name, same as is good. Same as is, their official representation, their identity, such as like the Twitter or Facebook page, something official, or Wikipedia page, I guess. Telephone number, yeah, why not? And let's just keep going with URL, because I think a lot of things in our world of running a Drupal camp have a URL that is created. All right, so we've got a place, an organization, and now we're probably going to get to this person, where before I had something like 15 fields maybe created for me. Let's see how many we end up with doing it ourselves. And this is all talked about in the full demo, that it's listed as a con, that if you just have it generate everything, it's going to generate a lot. And you can see here, like basically it gave us all the green and all the yellow fields when we did that mass generation. But I don't know that we really need the yellow fields. So here we are, we got a person and we're thinking about it. So this is the middle name, we'll leave that. Address, sure, that can be optional. Affiliation with an organization, I guess so. But we also have works for down here, I believe. Works for, see, so works for is a property. I'm not sure how we would use affiliation, and we could just use works for. So I'm going to just drop that. Let's keep it as simple as possible. Alumni of, we don't often care. We don't have awards listed. We don't need somebody's birth date. I've already done a lot of this. Family name, yeah, we'll take the family name. Email, gender, we don't really need to track that. Their given name is their first name. Yep, I like the honorifics, it can't hurt. Job title, yeah, we probably want to know that. We don't need languages. We don't need nationality. And yeah, why not have URL? We're throwing URL everywhere else. Let's just go ahead and throw URL there. The weight, come on, get out. And we'll leave works for, which is going to relate to an organization. And apparently it's unlimited, so that's fine. Just a collection of organizations. All right, all right. All right, let's see how it did. So we still got like 15 fields, basically. I mean, it might be 13. So it didn't necessarily save a lot, but I do know exactly what we have in here. So I don't know. I don't know if that was worth the effort that I did. Probably, because I would rather understand the problem as thinking of what I need instead of thinking about what to get rid of. That way, what I remember is the important data and not the unimportant data. Let's refresh this page and see what we do next. Okay, so we've got an organization, a person, and we're thinking about having an event. We also have web page and article. Let's just go ahead and map these two things. So we're going to use the basic content types that came with Drupal, structure, content types, article, and then we will go to the manage fields, schema.org. And here we are just going to map things. Secondary title. So the articles don't really have a secondary title field. Let's just leave that off for now. The author, we're relating a person. That tends to be good. You can display an author that's not a user on the system. For example, if a sponsor gives us something to post, we don't need to create a user for that sponsor and assign the node owner as the author, the publicly displayed author. So we're going to leave authored. Long story short, we're going to leave authored, and it's going to relate to an organization or a person. Okay, great. Date stuff, the body, the headline, in language. Yeah, if we've got language, we use it. Keywords or tags. The title's the name, and everything else should be like super normal. So the URL for this item is the item itself, right? And that's probably mapped somewhere. I'm just going to click save. I don't want to guess that URL should be the canonical like node URL. So I'm going to leave that blank for now. Mainly just want to see if now that I've done this and I refresh this page, does it tell us that we do have node articles? Great. All right, let's do the same thing for basic page. Structure, content types, basic page, manage fields, and then to the schema.org subtab. Basic page just has a body. Great. It's going to be pretty easy. So we're going to come down here. Date created is mapped. Description is mapped. Language is mapped. Name, primary image of page. You know, that is something that happens all the time. I get it. You do have a lot of primary images on pages. And you know what we do is we use that as an SEO thing, which I hadn't remembered. So let's look at the manage field for pages on the Drupal site. And we do have an image field. We have a metadata image field. So we've got a couple. Primary image on page. So let's add an image field to the page. Great. Related links. I guess that could come up. Significant links. Right. Yeah, let's just go with it. And now we should have, once that's saved and we refresh, we should have this filled in. I think we're doing really great. All right, it's done. Refresh. Now an event. So how do we want to do an event? Probably with structure, content types, add schema.org content, and we're gonna make an event. Okay. All right, so let's read the description because we're going to start to get into some nitty gritty things here that involve the intent of this type of object and how we use it on the site. So an event happening at a certain time and location. Okay, such as a concert. Great, that's exactly what we do here. All right, and we will allow subtypings of events. Okay, so attendee. Right now, this is not where I want to, this is not how I want to track attendees to the event. So I'm going to get rid of this. Plus, I don't like the idea of the relationship going in this direction. We'll come back to that. The intended audience is an unlimited text plain field. So you could think of this as features or selling points, probably. All right. Description is good. Duration, that would be like 3 days, that sort of thing. End date, okay, I expect start date later. Event status, basically if there's anything wrong with the event, like it's going to be rained out. Okay, keep going. Location, we are referring to content. Okay, so the one thing to note, I want to see if this is going to be smart enough to refer to the right type of content. So after we create this, we need to go back through and look at our entity reference fields to make sure they're configured correctly. Okay, location, good. Name, organizer. What do we decide that was? Probably an organization or a person. Yep. Performer. So I could see having performer being like featured, right? So we could call this featured performers. I don't know. Let's go with it. All right, great. Start date, whatever. URL. We don't really have a URL. This will be fine for now. Saving. All right, back here, let's use this as our guide, map settings. Okay, so we have everything. We don't have media data and media audio object mapped to schema. So let's take care of that and we'll be all green and we can see how we got here from there with this video. So media types, let's go to audio and document. We're going to map these things to their schema type. So for audio, schema.org. Basically, we're just going to visit this page, see that it looks reasonable, and move on. Content URL, audio file. Wow, great. This is easy. Boom. Let's do the same thing over here while that one's saving with document. So I'm going to go to the schema.org fields page and just make sure things look right. Yep, link to the file. Date created, date modified. Languages. I mean, if we know the language, let's tell them. All right, so now that we've basically just visited and saved those page, I suspect we're at the point where we can refresh this. And now we have created all the common items. All right, there we go. That's pretty good. Let's now revisit the nodes we created and double check that things were done completely. So for example, an event has I'm going to leave that tab open because I really like this tab. It's just this tab is telling me where to go on my site. It's great. Okay, so we've got this event content type, which I don't know if this right for our site? Maybe. Do we want to display author? Nope. So we still need to like go through here and make sure that we put the care into our content types that the schema module can't do for us. So let's manage fields. All right, we've got 4 entity reference here. Let's see what they look like. So a performer should probably be a person or organization. Sounds right. Person organization. Look at that. It's set up. And I believe it could only do that because we made everything in the correct order. All right, great. I was concerned about that. All right, let's check one more. Image is going to be fun. Location should be a place. An organizer, why not? Let's look at organizers too. Great, location is a place. Oh man, this thing is great. Okay, so let's manage form display. Now what we want to do is all our entity references, we probably want them to be, actually want to use the entity browser for it. So you know what? Let's leave this alone. I'm going to go back to the extend page and find the entity browser. Entity browser, IF content browser. Okay. Does this need the entity browser? Yeah, okay. So they will work together. All right, that's fine. Save that. Give me an entity browser installed, and I will manage the forms and take a quick look. All right, we should have the entity browser now. Let's refresh this page. And let's see. Okay, location, entity browser, organizers, entity browser, featured performer, entity browser, start date, end date. Okay, and I guess we're still in the manage form display. So yeah, you still gotta care here. So let's get start date and end date near each other. Oh, you know what? I would actually expect these to be grouped better already. Ooh, look at this. So this might be a problem. So what I want to do is I want to enable the field group module. Yep, figured that wasn't enabled. All right. I'd like to see the opinion of the blueprints modules on how the form should be grouped. Just curious. So let's install that. And then do we have to do a teardown and restart? Ooh, I don't like the idea of tearing this down if, oh, can't tear down. Interesting. All right. I'm going to potentially break something here. I'm going to click setup types here. What happens? All right. Something happened. I don't know. Hard to say what the difference is there. Since we're just experimenting, I'm going to tear all this down. And then I'm going to regenerate. And I want to see what the form display looks like for the event content type. Let's do it. Setup types. Do it however you want. It's all done. Let's see what it did. All right. So here I'm on the manage form display for an event. Yep. Field group module is one we want. Okay. So it already put some things together for me, like the event information. Yeah, that's great. That saved me a good bit of work. Entity browser by default. Look at that, because I had entity browser enabled. This is good stuff. Everything's not perfect, but how could you expect better, frankly? Okay. So let's say audiences up here and status is on time, basically. Duration, audiences, performers. Okay, sure, that seems great. Let's save that. Now what do we have left to do? We've already mapped everything. We got stuff going, persons and organizations, and we need events, I guess. So let's actually look at creating an event, see what our form looks like. Okay, so we can say our event is Asheville 2023. And the event status is in progress. Okay, none of those. The duration is generally 3 days. It's going to start sometime next year. And you know what, we're just going to fix this audience. So this is for Drupal developers. Add another item. Business consulting. I don't know. Don't even worry about it. That's good. We don't have performers, attendees. We don't want attendees. We can get rid of that. Organizers. Yeah, we can do organizers. Okay, save that. Date is invalid. Good Lord. Well, I don't need a time. I don't need what time the dang thing starts. We'll worry about that some other day, right? You know what? Actually, it's probably easier just to say it's going to start at 8 a.m. and it's going to end at, let's call it 5 p.m. Everything else look good? That's good. Let's see how much we can do from here. Let me edit this. And I want to see if I can, all right, I can add media. Let's see what this looks like. Can I upload from here? Yeah, great. I'm gonna add a file. I'm gonna do it. Let me just go ahead. Don't even worry about it. Get rid of that. Let's add more media. I want this sweet new logo. Boom. It's terrible alt text, but that's not the purpose of what I'm doing here. All right, so we added media. Great. We've got some uncommon. There we go. It's always great. Now this is the type of thing where I think inline entity form would be outstanding if I could just create the entities from here. I'm going to save this and then we're going to edit the event content type. Content types, event, form display. We did entity browser. What if I just do inline entity form complex? What does that look like? All right, let's edit this again. So I can add a new node. I don't know if there's a node that exists already, but let's just add a new node. We're going to call this UMCA. All right, we're just going to keep it simple. Create node. Great. I'll save that. Its location is at UNCA. All right. Well, I don't know why I wouldn't want this. Let's see what the difference between the simple and the complex widget is. So yeah, entity form complex. Let's check out the simple widget. Edit this page. Okay, simple widget is very much just like, boom, it's embedded, deal with it, is what it looks like to me. I think I like the complex widget a little more myself. I could be missing something because likely event has one single location, but let's go with complex for now. Default labels are used. Existing nodes cannot be referenced. Why not? I want allow existing nodes to be referenced. Allows users to duplicate nodes. Nah, that sounds complicated. Entity browser. I guess I should select an entity browser. Add an existing node, select content. Okay, so a couple steps in there, but yeah, I can see that doing pretty great. I like this a lot. All right, so let's save this. And let's follow through with that on everything. So everywhere that I have, except attendees, because I don't really know how I want to use that yet. Organizers, we're going to do it a complex. Entity form, add existing is good, contains is fine, entity browser for content. And save that. Maybe saved it a little too fast. Performers, I guess let's just, yeah, these are like our person nodes, right? So you can refer to existing. Great. New nodes can be added. Attendees, still don't know what I want to do with attendees, if anything. So let's save that. Look at that. Add a new node. Add an existing node. Look at that person, add an existing node. Oh, that's not useful. I'll cancel out of that. And there's a lot of forms and forms going on here, but it seems okay. What did I miss here? Organizers, browse for content. I guess my performers, I did not choose an entity browser. Save that. Refresh the page. Now, when I add an existing node, I should get the entity browser. Okay. Very good. Organizers. So let's add a person. JDog. And maybe I can autofill a lot of this. I'm going to delete some of this either way. Ooh, nested. Nesty. Okay. All right. Either way, it lets me add it right here, which is really what I want. I want to create that node. And oh, it's going to make me fill in this. Great. All right. And there I am. Created a publisher and I'm an organizer. Save. I like this. That's good. Okay. Take a short pause. All right. I think we got an event set up. We got people. We got places. Did we add a place for this event? Tell me about places. Dun, dun. Location. There we are. Let's add a, wait, I think we have an existing location because we went ahead and created UNCA. No. Okay. Add. Oh, something happened. Okay. Let's add UNCA to school. And the address, we're not going to worry about address, but we can have telephone number. All right, let's create it. Great. Pretty good. I mean, you got to see the value in this, right? So the next thing I think we're going to go for is like, what else? So this is defining a lot of the things of our camp. But what else our camp is all about is sessions. So we don't have sessions. We can say sponsor is an organization or a person, and sponsorship, we got to figure out how to handle that relationship because it's a little better as a relationship probably. So sponsorship has additional data that is neither the sponsor nor the event is the thing. So sponsorship level is an example of that data. So we need that eventually as well. A social event. Can we just make a subtype? What happens if we, let's say we want to make a social event now. Content, add content, event. Can I be like, give me that subtype social event, a dance event? That sounds social. A social event. What do you know? All right. Pizza and chess. Sounds tough. But we're going to do pizza and chess on some time at some time. We do not need attendees at some location. Organizers could be the sponsors of that event. That's very good. Performers, not sure that's going to come up, but yeah. All right. So we got social event covered. It's just going to be a subtype of event. Great. No need for a content type there. Next, we have session and sponsor. Sponsor is going to be an organization or a person. So we need a session. And Schema, what I found looking around earlier, has the idea of a course and a course instance. So I guess in addition to a session, a group of sessions becomes the schedule. So this is a schedule. Now, in researching earlier, Schema uses the word schedule to mean something else. There is a thing called a schedule, and it is a repeatable event. So this repeating time period to describe a regularly occurring event, which is not what we mean by schedule. What this schedule is more of maybe an itinerary. Is that the name? Is there a word for that? Itinerary. Is that spelled right? Who knows? There it is. All right, so we've got an itinerary. What is this thing? Destinations that make up a trip. For a trip where the destination order is important, use item list. Okay. Here's a destination. A classroom is a destination in this instance. So for example, this session occurred in this room. So there is a location related to a session. There's also time. Time is very important. So I don't think itinerary is right either. So we're gonna have to think on this a little more. We'll figure out what a session is, or what our schedule is. It's a collection of something in a specific order, in a specific place, at specific times. Very close to an itinerary, but time matters. So for now, let's look at course and course instance and see if we need any of these. What's a course? And we probably do this in the module itself. I would not be surprised. Okay, so this is what a course looks like. Take place at different times or take place at different locations. Okay. Different offerings, media offerings. An educational course is a sequence of one or more educational events. Interesting. Okay. So this is pretty close, but what's interesting is that it says a course is a sequence of educational events. And that gets me back to the word event. An event does involve time. So is a session actually an event? Doesn't show up here. All right, let's look at the browsing that the module provides. So I'm gonna go to reports and about schema.org. Let's browse through our options here. What is a course? So does a course have a start and end? I don't see an end. I don't see a start. So a session isn't exactly a course. And I bet a course instance is wants to relate to a course. Let's look at a course instance. About, the actor, a person, subtyping. Okay, it's a subtype of event. Okay, so now we're back to a session as an event because it happens at a time and a location. A course instance. Interesting. Okay, we've got end dates. That means we have start date. We're going to have a location, LL location. Yep. And we're going to have a lot of other relationships. So I think a session is a course instance, which itself is an event. Okay, so let's add this as something. Let's add this as a content type. I mean, I know we could just do a subtype of an event. Is that good UX? What happens if we create a new event? Content, add content, event. And we have a subtype of course instance. There's something I'm not loving about the UX of this, in the sense that using subtypes as a concept for UX where an editor may not be technically or schema savvy. So like there would need to be instructions somewhere that tell people if you want to create a session, then you go to create event and choose a course instance. And that's just like a little clunkier than go to create session. I think we do want to create a new content type, even if it's just because it is significantly distinct on our site. The difference between a session event is distinctly different than the concept of an event, the overarching event. Let's do this. Course mode. We don't need course mode. Course workload. Just text. I don't think we need course workload. Let's hold off on that for now. Let's keep this simple for now. The instructor, yep, we will use that. That is a person content, hopefully. Yep. And let's have more than one instructor be possible. A location, great. A name, start. Okay. This is good. I like where this is going. Now, what do we have for our session type? We've got room number. So this is all the scheduling stuff. I'm not too worried about that. We got presenters. We will need files, which are attachments they add afterwards, an image to represent the session, link to YouTube. Okay, so we need a couple more things for our session to match our current content. All right, so we've got an image, boom, that's no problem. We've got an instructor that can be unlimited, that's good. Schedule type is the idea of, is it a training or is it something else? A training, an announcement, a lunch, a panel, birds of a feather, etc. We'll have to come back to schedule type unless we see something that looks perfect. So super event is where we're going to choose that this session relates to Drupal Camp Asheville 2023 or whatever. So this is our relationship to the big event. The URL, I don't know that we have a URL. I think this is it for now. Let's go with that. This is our course instance. And this is where, this is the one that's going to probably take the most work, the most custom work in terms of theming and other like data type work. So course instance, boom. And what do we have? We probably still need a type of some, let's create one of these. See if we have subtyping on course instance. I don't know that we need it now, so we'll leave that for now. We need files. We didn't get files. We need topics. All right, so there's still more to do here. Video. Well, so we'll need to add a video field. We'll need to add a file field and maybe a few other things. Don't know if we'll need year. We're going to use super event for that. Schedule type, maybe. Okay, this is pretty good stuff. So we're going to have the day. We're going to have the time. These two have become one field. The presenters, we got a lot of it all magically here and standardized for us. So let's make one of these. Just say learn. This is a course in the super event of Drupal Camp Asheville. And the instructor will be Jonathan. Event status. Yep. And it can be sponsored. Cool. Medical study information. What? We do not have medical study information. So the last thing we're missing, I think, the last main thing, we're gonna have to figure out the sponsorships. So TBD on sponsorships.